Hello and welcome to Will Watches. This is Dark episode 5. So there weren't too many big revelations last episode, but they are setting the seas for some more mystery here. What is happening with the Stranger and this new Noah character? Is the Stranger just Noah? That's just like a pseudonym he's giving to these kids. I'm not sure. I've also did some more thinking about the name Noah as well. When you think of Noah, I immediately think of Noah's Ark, and then the thought of like a time traveler coming in to try and save people from this timeline. That sounds like a really cool concept. I don't know if that is where this is going, but that would be a cool concept. So before we jump into this, be sure to check out the Patreon page. Over there you can find 1 week early access, so you can get episode 6 right now. You can also find polls, so you can vote for what's next, and you can find a full-length timer-based version of this where you just sync up your own footage and you can watch along with me. So yeah, let's just jump right in. Ooh, is that the two timelines? Oh, look at the parallels here. Okay. That's the younger Hannah, isn't it? With her crush on Ulrich from the start. I Am Not Afraid. Is that a book she used to read him? I wonder if both actresses actually have the mole. Like, were they that good that they found someone with a mole as well, or is it just prosthetic? Yeah, what is the significance of this red rope? And a bit of a love triangle here. I guess it is kind of shaped like a noose, isn't it? Is that why he latched onto it? I can't emphasize how good this song is. I just immediately got chills all down my neck. I wonder if the opening does actually change between seasons as well. Ooh, it was Red String holding on the coin that they gave to Eric before they put him in that machine. And there's like a bloody hand there, and it's a hand with a ring, so we know it's someone married. It looks like a man's hand as well. Immediately my thought was Ulrich with that. And that's those tattoos we saw. Yeah, okay, from the last episode. I'm assuming it's the Stranger who has those tattoos.
Gilt seit heute früh als verschwunden.
Bisher
noch keine Stellungnahme abgegeben.
This one at least wasn't the school sort like it would have been with Elizabeth.
Wenn du irgendetwas weißt, dann musst du mir das jetzt sagen.
I wonder if her being deaf is purposeful, or was it the actress who is deaf and they adapted the story around that? Or is her deaf like part of the story, like her eardrums burst? Someone time travelled near her. Blue eyes.
Jedes kleine Detail ist wichtig.
Was soll das? So redet man nicht mit seiner 8-jährigen Tochter.
No, she was just being like firm of what you need to say. She wasn't being mean at all.
Ich weiß, dass du nicht in der Praxis warst.
It's too dangerous to be keeping secrets when you're married to an inspector like this.
Ich will, dass du mich hier und jetzt in die Augen schaust und mir versicherst.
Du spinnst.
I mean, he obviously does have more to do with it, but he just can't tell her at all because she'd never believe him. If it is time travel, like, why would she ever believe in time travel? She'd think he's just making it all up, some excuse.
Wenn du willst. Egal was es ist, du kannst es mir erzählen.
He already said he's from the future.
Versprochen.
When is Mikkel? See that really subtle dolly zoom there? There's so much like great imagery there, but it's like too much to take in. Yeah, that's all Eric's stuff, wasn't it? Oh, don't recognize that name. That might be a word. Looking, but unknown caller. Okay.
Hallo Bartosz.
Oh. Oh, okay. Noah related to Eric somehow. He had Eric's phone number. Oh, we did see the Stranger carrying the body through the forest actually.
Magst du reinkommen?
She's not going to fess up here, is she? There's definitely some tension between these two. Look.
Anna.
He's got to be a bit more subtle than that. You look like he's just been caught, the way he reacted.
Hanna hat uns was zu essen gebracht.
I mean, it does kind of look that way, them both sitting there on the sofa like that. I can't remember if she actually like knows or if she's just like really onto her.
Gerne. Menno.
Oh, look at that look. It looked like she was like smelling her almost. Could she figure it out from that?
Ich möchte das Zimmer gerne behalten, wenn es geht.
Selbstverständlich, das ist kein Problem.
Es müsste bis heute Abend zugestellt sein. Ist das wichtig?
Ja, natürlich.
The time machine? I'm assuming it's a time machine. What, the machine he has with him. She's not got a Snoop, is she? For Jonas, okay, is there going to be some clues or the actual machine? I was going to say maybe that's another Bootstrap paradox, but I think we did see Tannhaus building it.
Ich weiß nicht, was sie jetzt braucht und das Ganze ist irgendwie abgefuckt. Sie wird sich schon melden, wenn sie soweit ist.
Has Bart not been as supportive as he could have been, though, with her little brother going missing like that?
Kann ich dir vertrauen? Mit dem Kontakt von Eriks Dealer.
Okay, was Eric not a dealer himself? Maybe I misunderstood that. I thought it'd be a bit more of a secret than that. Yeah, what is going on with this stopwatch? Where or when did it come from?
Ich bin Noah,
Oh,
Pfarrer der St. Christophorus-Gemeinde.
a priest at the church. Okay.
Die Welt ist durch den Urknall entstanden. Vor 13,8 Milliarden Jahren. Dadurch ist Raum, Zeit und Materie entstanden.
Yeah, this is 86, not as widely accepted back then, I guess.
Gut, dass er dich erzogen hat, Dinge in Frage zu stellen, aber von Zeit zu Zeit sollte man auch mal die Fragesteller in Frage stellen.
Yeah, just because someone questions things doesn't mean they're necessarily smart. Flat Earthers question a lot of things as well.
Ich will, dass du aufhörst, mich anzurufen. Okay? Hör einfach auf.
Breaking things off, yeah.
Das kann man nicht einfach so abstellen. Ich nicht.
You can't just switch off your feelings for each other like that, but you might just have to deal with it.
Ruf mich nicht an, komm nicht vorbei. Lass uns einfach in Ruhe. Okay?
Just how large and imposing his face was in the frame there.
Ich glaube ja nicht, dass ich dich einfach so gehen lasse.
She's not gonna risk, leaking it, telling everyone. She could always blackmail him with that.
Dann sagt sie, wenn du erwachsen bist, dann stirbt dein Herz. Und der Satz kommt so: BAM!
When you grow up, your heart dies. Yeah, the no future on his jacket as well. You can tell she was always frustrated with that. Has she been like pre-planning this since her childhood, you know? She finally got what she wanted, but now it's cut off again.
Ich will kein AIDS und ich will keine Kinder. Niemals.
Never. He changes her mind on that eventually.
Aber ich kann Ihnen versichern, dass man im Heim auf seine Bedürfnisse wirklich sehr spezifisch eingehen kann.
Yeah, she's considering it. She's gonna adopt him, isn't she? And even then, do you have children?
Kurz nach der Geburt gestorben.
Und es tut mir leid.
So that gives her even more of a reason to want a family, having a child that died. Was her child that died named Michael? Then he can like fill that role, pretend it never happened, like assume his identity as well.
Als damals mein Bruder verschwunden ist, haben die hier so ziemlich jeden Fehler gemacht, den man sich vorstellt. Der leitende Ermittler war ein versoffener Vollidiot.
He wanted to change all that.
Ich habe mir geschworen, dass ich das alles anders mache.
But is he the same now? He's a drunken idiot.
Bin ich jetzt das inkompetente Arschloch?
Hast du schon mal was von dem 33-Jahre-Zyklus gehört?
Oh?
Unsere Kalender stimmen nicht. Das Jahr ist eigentlich nicht 365 Tage lang. Wir sind sozusagen immer ein bisschen aus der...
Yeah, because of leap years.
Das Universum ist wieder auf der exakt gleichen Position.
Okay.
Der lunarsolare Zyklus. Wie ein gigantisches Déjà-vu.
Yeah, or just deja vu. I wonder if the position of the stars and stuff has something to do with anything here. You know, do they have to be there to be able to time travel? Okay. Does he think this is the dealer?
Kennen wir uns?
You could say that, maybe.
Ich kannte deinen Vater. Schon lange her, aber ich kann mich noch gut an ihn erinnern. Er hat mir damals das Leben gerettet.
Oh, it's so him.
Der Tod ist etwas Unbegreifliches. Aber man kann sich mit ihm versöhnen.
Why didn't he just hand deliver the box then? The package? And I'm just wondering, you know, how much of this is predetermined? Did the stranger experience that exact same talk and that's how he knows what to say in that moment? Or is he just doing that out of his own free will? He wants to say that. And this is where they meet. Ah, from earlier.
Findest du mich eigentlich schön? Na prima.
I mean, there's clearly a big age difference between her and Ulrich, so I'm glad, you know, nothing happened back here.
Es gibt keine Zauberei, nur Illusion. Die Dinge verändern sich nur, wenn wir sie verändern. Aber
Yeah, Miko loves magic, doesn't he?
dann wirkt es wie Zauberei.
Woher kannst du das?
Ich komme aus der Zukunft.
This isn't like the same room that Magnus was in before. Magnus and Francesca. Just because it looks like the school and there are lockers there. You know, everything's looping.
Hat mir erzählt von der alten Welt. Vor der Flut. Anders sei sie gewesen. Schlecht, ist das für sie wirklich wahr? Im Schatten verbarg.
Oh, don't let Hannah hear it. Or spy on them. There's a perfectly placed bench there for her to look in. Ah.
Dass sich nichts ändert. Dass alles bleibt. Das Spinnrad sich dreht.
And the perfect gap in the frosting too. Yeah, he promised he'd go with him. Is this scene important? Those red lights to the left of him look like there's a shot in the opening that has those red lights as well. Oh, Bart left his bike there, and that's where Noah found that knot on the bike before. Was that his bike? Did we see those scenes out of sequence somehow?
Ich war nicht in Frankreich.
Yeah, that whole lie.
Die nennen es posttraumatische Störung.
Warum hast du nichts gesagt?
Weil ich nicht wollte, dass du denkst, ich bin ein Freak oder...
But you just left her in the dark.
Was da im Sommer zwischen uns passiert ist. Das war nicht einfach nur nichts, oder?
You know, just before Bart asked if he can trust him. And if this all goes wrong because he's here on his own, that won't be good. Oh, that's a nice car.
Ich bin Bartosz. Ich weiß. Ich bin Noah.
Noah again. Was it a Rolls Royce? I thought I saw the what's it called? The Phantom, the little angel figure that they have. Yeah, that looks like Noah. Oh, Noah was in the past with Miko and looked exactly the same as well. Just realized that too. He must be time traveling.
Betrügst du mich?
I mean, not anymore.
Ich frag dich das nur einmal. Betrügst du mich?
Das würde ich niemals tun.
I mean, if he had said no, then he technically wouldn't have been lying.
Ulrich hat ihre Brüste angefasst und hat sich auf sie draufgelegt.
Und sie wollte es nicht.
Oh. She's not going to start a false rumor, is she?
Genau, was du gesehen hast, okay?
What kind of consequence does that have for Ulrich?
Er hat laut Stopp gerufen und gezappelt. Aber er lag auf ihr drauf.
Oh, and this guy's already got a bit of a thing against Ulrich anyway.
Und dann hat er seine Hose runtergezogen und...
Du musst nicht weiterreden. Du hast das Richtige gemacht.
I wonder if it ever gets revealed that she did this. The audio tape exists. There must be a record of it as well. Master manipulator Hannah. I mean, of course, Katerina, she can just say, you know, oh yeah, it was fine, it was all consensual. That split screen there, it wasn't really split screen, it like merged into each other. Where is he now? Through the caves. It's gotta be the machine, right? Oh, okay. What is that? Like a light or a handle? Okay, it's a light. That's quite futuristic in a way. I don't know the sound effects of it, but not in a way that it couldn't be made today. That's like a radiation meter, a radometer. Oh, the letter. Oh, please, please tell us what it says.
Wenn du das liest, ist alles bereits unwiederbringlich geschehen. Es kann nicht mehr geändert werden.
Oh, she's hugging the book.
Die Wahrheit ist ein seltsames Ding. Man kann versuchen, sie zu unterdrücken.
Yeah, here we go.
Versuchen zu vergessen. Bis es nicht mehr geht.
Oh my god, this music.
Nicht einmal die Hälfte der Mysterien dieser Welt. Wir sind Wanderer in der Dunkelheit. Dies ist meine Wahrheit.
Wonders in the darkness.
Der Junge aus der Zukunft blieb und wurde mit der Zeit ein Mann. Aus Mikkel wurde Michael.
Yeah. What about
Bin ich bereits gegangen.
when he saw him?
Ich hoffe, du kannst mir verzeihen. Alles ist miteinander verbunden. Mikkel.
Everything is connected. Even though I already predicted it, it's still such a great moment. Back to the tan house. And the stranger knows him?
Helfen.
Or not, okay.
Ich möchte mich gerne mit Ihnen über die Zeit unterhalten.
He certainly knows a lot. Okay, so that was Dark episode 5. What a great episode. So we finally get it confirmed that Mikkel is Michael. I'd called that already. I think you can piece that together quite easily as soon as you put the connection with Inez there and the potential of her adopting him, especially in the episode before when she's talking about her not having any family. And then it's even brought home even more this episode when she's saying, you know, she had a kid before that died. It makes perfect sense why she would be willing to adopt a child. You know, she wants something to kind of fill that role of her lost child, and that's exactly what Mikkel gave to her. And of course she gave Mikkel a loving family and somewhere to stay and all of that on the other hand as well. And although I did see that coming, I wouldn't say that that tarnishes the moment. You know, sometimes a twist is only a twist for the sake of a twist and there's no substance behind it, so it might be shocking. But if you had already figured it out, there's nothing there. But because this has a twist with quite a lot of depth and a lot of consequence for characters, even though I had already predicted it, it's still a really good twist because there'll be a lot of consequences that come of this. So I really like the twist, and the moment was just great as well. The music, the cinematography, all leading up to that reveal, him like dramatically reading the letter, it was all so great. So we got to see Noah this episode, which I wasn't expecting. So Noah is a separate character to the stranger, but might be working with the stranger. I'm not quite sure the relation here, because last episode we saw the stranger, or what looks like the stranger, show up to where Yasin is and say, hey, Noah sent me, and he had the toys, and we saw the stranger, you know, building the toys. So what is going on there? Why are the stranger and Noah kidnapping children? And I'm assuming that is how the other children have gone missing as well, interacting with Noah, because Noah has ties to Eric now, being a drug dealer or being higher up in this drug chain. Was Eric also a dealer, but then that was just like who else? Who was above him in the chain, and we saw he was super rich as well. He had a Rolls Royce, it looked like. And then also Noah is a time traveler. That's definitely a thing, because he looked identical when he was there talking to Mikhail and when he was talking to Bartosz there. So he is another confirmed time traveler now. I'm just not quite sure if he is working with the stranger or not yet. You know, it's kind of implied at the end of last episode, but I feel like it could be a bit of a misdirect somehow, because if my theory about the stranger being Jonas is right, it seems like Jonas would be doing the right thing, or whatever he thinks is right. And the way Noah has been introduced, it seems very dark and villainous. Although I could be wrong about that. That could be a bit of a misdirect from the show, or the stranger is working with him for kind of the greater good, or working with him to have the possibility to betray him at some point. And I'm wondering, you know, all of these other kids that have gone missing, that must all be tied to Noah. With Eric it makes sense, with Yasin it makes sense. Not too sure about Mads and Mikhail. Mikhail obviously was a little bit of a coincidence, him just wandering into the cave and finding a passage, a crossing point to go into 1986. So I'm really interested in what Noah's motivation is, and why is all of these kids are being experimented on, at least why Eric was being experimented on, and why Mads was as well. Still waiting for that reveal for Mads. It's got to come at some point. You know, you would have thought Ulrich would have recognized his own brother now. And you know, now that Yasin has gone, will he fall into the same fate as Mikkel? Will he be transported in time somewhere? Is someone we know actually Yasin? Not quite sure there, because Yasin was doing sign language. So I'm not quite sure if Yasin was actually deaf, if the school him and Elizabeth were was like a school for deaf kids, or if it was just he was using sign language to talk to her. Not quite sure there. We also, this episode had that little tease at the end of the stranger meeting Tannhaus, and I'm wondering what's going on there, because Tannhaus we've seen was building that box that I assume is a time machine, and the stranger must have got it from Tannhaus. So what is going on there? Because it didn't seem that Tannhaus recognized him, but maybe, you know, maybe Tannhaus knows Jonas and not the stranger. He didn't recognize him at first, or something like that, if Jonas and the stranger are the same person. I think it's pretty confirmed now that they are, though, especially with how they talked to each other when they were sitting on the bench, when the stranger was saying, you know, oh, your father really helped me, I knew him a long time ago, implying that he died a long time ago. It all seems pretty obvious at this point, and you know, you can see the stranger like urging Jonas on the bit here, saying life is a labyrinth, you need to work your way through it, find your path through it. And it does seem that the stranger is acting as a little bit of a guide for Jonas as well, because we saw when he broke in, he gave him little clues and things. So if this is Jonas, you know, there's a lot of bootstrap paradoxes happening here. You know, who gave who the idea? Where did the idea originate from? If it is just Jonas giving himself the same idea on a loop over and over again. I do think that scene at the end might be slightly out of sequence, because, you know, how would the stranger have gotten the time machine? And we also see the stranger has the book that Tannhaus wrote, although, you know, he could have just got the book from a bookstore, I guess. I am also wondering, just before Noah and Bartosz met, Bart like dropped his bike off by the side, and that looked very similar to last episode where Jonas found the little bit of string, the red string tied to a bike. I didn't quite get a good look at the bikes. Did he know that that was Bartosz's bike, and maybe that's where Bart is going to meet Noah on a few occasions. Or was that sequence in the last episode shown out of sequence? Was that scene shown out of sequence? I'm not quite sure there. Last video I said about how each episode has been kind of self-contained to each timeline, but this one we actually do get cuts between each episode. We're getting bits of what's going on in the past, bits of what's happening in the future, how they're mirroring each other. You know, Magnus and Francesca getting frisky at the school, and then the same happening with Ulrich and Katerina. That does make me wonder, was anyone looking in on Magnus then? Because back in the day, it was Hannah looking in. So because things are repeating, are there details like that you can kind of assume that are happening, you know, in the modern timeline? Maybe there's things like that I should keep an eye on, scenes that are similar in the past and present, and what the differences are between those scenes, because maybe later on it will be revealed that someone was watching them as well, and that will be important. And then Hannah, this episode, she is like quite manipulative and has been for a long time. You know, she made that speech about I always get what I want, and she did eventually get her hands on Ulrich. I wonder how long she had been setting it up and how long they've been having their affair. Is it even an affair on her side? Was it all happening before Michael and Mikkel had died, or was it all just after that point? And then I feel like the accusations she has against Ulrich back in 1986, it feels like obviously they're pretty baseless. We know that none of it is true, and I feel like Katerina, she can stop all of that really, because it was consensual. She can just say that. Of course there'll be some questioning, but it feels like he will get away with it a little bit. I can't imagine this like ruining his life and reputation too much. Maybe his reputation in school a bit, but you know, we still see he does become a policeman. He does lead like quite a successful life. I couldn't see this being too ruining, but if this kind of ruins his social life at school and things, and then it is revealed to what happened, I wonder how that will impact everything. And like, does he know in 2019, or is that something that can still be revealed? And these manipulations from Hannah could be a revelation later down the line. You know, she has been kind of manipulating and setting up this situation, this affair with Ulrich for a while, for 33 years really. And I do think younger her and Mikkel, they do have some good chemistry. You know, she talks about being a magician, and it's one thing he is, you know, super into anyway. And like, could that become a self-fulfilling prophecy if she knows magicians, and then that somehow influences Ulrich to be a little into magicians, and then, you know, he teaches that on to Mikkel? I wonder if that is like a little bit of a self-fulfillment, a little bit of a cycle there. There's so many possibilities. We also get Martha and Jonas back together this episode, perhaps going behind Bartosz's back. We see, you know, things were already not great there. Bartosz, he hadn't been really in contact with Martha since Mikkel going missing, and that's, you know, something you need from a boyfriend, someone who will console you and just support you emotionally, and he hasn't really done any of that. And then he's saying, you know, well, she hasn't reached out to me, but maybe he should be the one to reach out as well. But we see, you know, Bartosz, he has those double entendres saying, can I trust you when they're playing the video games, but it's also, can I trust you with this drug deal, and can I trust you just in general? Which, can he, I mean, it is a bit of a betrayal of his trust, but also, was it not a betrayal of his trust for him to date Martha, knowing that Jonas had dated her before? And really, it seems the only reason that Jonas and her broke up was because, you know, he went away. He went to this mental facility while he was struggling with what had happened to his dad. There were a few lines that stood out to me in Michael's letter as well to Jonas. You know, how we only know half of life's mysteries, and we probably only know half of what we don't know, that, you know, that whole thing. And we are wanderers in the darkness. Everyone is really, you know, there's so much we don't know, and part of life is just discovering things we don't know. And his line about lies always making themselves to the surface, which I feel like ties very well into Hannah and Ulrich. And Katerina, she's definitely onto them, you know. Well, you know, she did even say to Ulrich, "Are you cheating on me?" And I feel like she knows that it's Hannah just from her interactions and her like smelling Hannah as well. Maybe she's picked up on that scent before and she's put 2 and 2 together. So yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, consider leaving a like or a comment. And if you really loved it, be sure to subscribe so you can keep up to date for all of the future uploads. So yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.